Today we have a mono green deck. This is a cEDH, or I guess now bracket 5 deck. I need to make a habit of saying bracket 5 so people get what this is doing and kind of the attitude behind this deck. So this is Yeva, Herald's Horn. Now you've probably seen a lot of other cEDH decks, mono green ones that are Selvala, and there's a few other ones. I haven't seen Yeva as much. This is actually my wife's pet deck. This is her first competitive deck. We are big plant people, so mono green is kind of our thing. Like I said, big plant people. Also, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. Even though, you know, I used Rogsai and Blue Farm, and both of which don't have green. Anyway, this is Yeva. This card has flash. You may cast green creature spells as though they had flash. So how does this deck win? That's kind of the big question. Well, you can accumulate so much value over the course of a turn cycle. So the goal number 1 is to get Seedborn Muse out. So Seedborn Muse, you untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. So if you're able to untap all of your lands, all of your permanents, you are able to flash in green creature spells during your opponent's turn, because that's what this commander does. And turns out we run a lot of green creatures that have a lot of value. So we'll start with the mana dorks first off. So we run the, of course, Llanowar Elves, Elvish Mystic, Delighted Halfling, Birds of Paradise, because we want to get Yeva out as quick as possible. Also, since this deck isn't played as much, sometimes we catch opponents off guard a lot. They'll swing in with a Ragavan, or they'll swing in with something, we'll flash a Yeva, block it, and they'll say, oh, well, this is a competitive game, so I can't take that back. Okay, so besides those, we run a few other creatures. So of course, I had mentioned Seedborn. This is our game plan. And I would also mention that this deck is kind of a toolbox deck. There are a lot of creatures that do different things. There's also a lot of tutors in this deck, mostly for creatures. And so besides Seedborn, our win line is Crater Hoof a lot of times. We also run Vigor. This is a combat style deck, so getting big creatures is a big thing. Same thing with Zopendrol. Zopendrol has actually been an MVP at some points. At the beginning of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until the end of turn. Zopendrol is just big body. And mana isn't really an issue in this deck because we're accumulating so many creatures that create mana. There's so many things that create mana so that we can continue to spin our Seedborn Muse, flash stuff in, gain card advantage. Wirewood Symbiote, return an elf you control to its owner's hand and tap target creature, activate only once each turn. Just kind of a value piece. Soul of the Harvest, card draw, value. Sylvan Safekeeper, we are willing to sacrifice a land so that target creature we control gains Shroud until the end of turn. Great Oak Guardian, reach. This just has flash on its own. When it enters the battlefield, creatures target player controls get +2/+2 until the end of turn. Untap them. Usually that goes on our creatures, but it's fun to politic with this card a little bit. Defiler of Vigor. As an additional cost to cast green spells, you may pay 2 life. Those spells cost a little bit less, so just 1 green less to cast if you paid life this way. This effect reduces only the amount of green mana you pay, and whenever you cast a green permanent spell, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. This is an amazing card because, again, if we have Seedborn Muse, we are casting a bunch of stuff, and theoretically we have some kind of card draw engine out, such as some of the cards that we'll discuss in a little bit. Surrak and Goreclaw, big body. Timbermare is interesting. When it comes into play, tap all other creatures. So this has some interesting abilities with Yeva out, because we can go to combat, declare attackers, and then flash in Timbermare to tap all other creatures. And since our creatures have already been declared in combat and already tapped, when we flash in Timbermare, we just tap all of our opponent's blockers. Great. Goreclaw, Terror of Kalsisma. I did not pronounce that right, surely. Creature spells you cast with power 4 or greater cost 2 less to cast. This is amazing at reducing the cost of a lot of our creatures so that we can continue to flash them in during our opponent's turn, flash in some of the big ones especially. Thorn Mammoth is some removal. Sereth the Viper's Fang is kind of protection in a certain way. So other tapped creatures you control have Death Touch, other untapped creatures you control have Hexproof. So protection in a few different ways. Oracle of Moldiah, you may play an additional land on each of your turns, play with the top card of your library revealed. You may play lands from the top of your library. Just some value. Nylea, since we have a ton of mana, again, number one, it reduces creature spells by 1 colorless. But also we can pay 2 and a green to reveal the top card of our library. If it's a creature card, put it into our hand. Otherwise, we may put it into the graveyard. So a little bit of card selection. Regal Force is an MVP in this deck. When it comes into play, ETBs draw a card for each green creature you control. So this is amazing card just to accumulate a lot of cards. Hornet Queen, this is just a goofy card to protect ourselves from flyers. Kind of a pet card in a way, but also just a very good card. Okay, so those are some of our creatures. Now I also want to talk about a few combos that we have. We are in green, of course, and we do run quite a few infinite mana combos in the deck, and a lot of them revolve around Gaia's Cradle. So I'll talk about this one first. This one does not revolve around Gaia's Cradle. So if we have Ashaya and Kyrian Ranger out, so number one, Ashaya, Soul of the Wild, power and toughness are equal to the number of lands we control. Okay, it's big. Non-token creatures you control are forest lands in addition to their other types. So if we have a Kyrian Ranger out, Kyrian Ranger says return a forest you control to its owner's hand and tap target creature. Activate only once each turn. So with just these two out, we can kind of have infinite flicker effects, not quite infinite mana. So if we have Ashaya and Kyrian, we can tap Ashaya for a green, and then we can activate Kyrian Ranger to return a forest you control to its owner's hand, targeting itself to untap target creature. And then we replay Kyrian Ranger with the mana we created from Ashaya, and so on and so forth. With an additional piece out, so a creature that can create more than just a green, more than just a single green, so Circle of Dreams Druid, for instance, you can tap a green for each creature you control. We can make infinite mana, so we can tap Circle of Dreams for, let's say, 3 green, and then we return Kyrian Ranger to our hand, and then we untap target creature. So then we untap Circle of Dreams. We recast Kyrian Ranger, untap Circle of Dreams, so on and so forth. The other creatures we control that potentially can create more than 1 green, Priestess Titania and Selvala. So you get the picture there. Another fun little combo is Argothian Elder, Wirewood Lodge, and Gaia's Cradle, or potentially Nykthos. So we'll just talk about Gaia's Cradle first. Argothian Elder says we can tap it to untap 2 target lands. If we have Wirewood Lodge and Gaia's Cradle out, let's just say these 2 are tapped. We can tap the Argothian Elder to untap our Gaia's Cradle and our Wirewood Lodge, and assuming we have more than just Argothian Elder on the battlefield, we can tap Gaia's Cradle for a bunch of green mana, and then we can use one of the green mana to tap the Wirewood Lodge to untap Argothian Elder. We can tap Argothian Elder to untap the 2 lands, and we would be netting some mana. Those are a couple combos that we run. Let's talk about a few Stax pieces, maybe some protection or removal. We'll go to that category. So Null Rod and Collector Oof, we run both of those. Players cannot play an artifact ability requiring an activation cost. Same thing with Collector Oof. This was a lot better when Dockside was running around, but they're still very good cards because a lot of people are running all of the fast mana, so on and so forth. So if we can get one of these out on a really early turn, that can just shut off our opponents, especially on some different Underworld Breach lines and a few other combos like that. We run just a few pieces of removal. We run that big creature card that fights some stuff. Bridgeworks Battle is an MDFC land that allows one of our creatures to get a little bit bigger and then fight another target creature. We do run Force of Vigor to destroy those pesky enchantments that our blue players run. Beast Within, kind of same thing, and then Rex Sage also does a very similar thing as well. Let's talk about some of our tutoring pieces. So we run kind of all of the normal ones. We run Green Sun Zenith, and we also run Crop Rotation to potentially get out our Gaia's Cradle. We also run Eldritch Evolution. Again, this is a toolbox deck. We run Finale of Devastation. That is also potentially a win line. We haven't won with that card much, but if we have a ton of mana and X is 10 or more, creatures we control get +X, and gain haste until the end of turn. Worldly Tutor, of course. Court of Calling, of course. This is natural order, so we can sacrifice a creature to tutor for a creature and put that onto the battlefield. Shared Summons can potentially go get our combo pieces if we need it. Summoner's Pact, Invasion of Ikoria, Yisan, and Fierce Empath. So those are some of the tutors. As far as protection goes, we run Legolas's Quick Reflexes. We run Allosaurus Shepherd, which is big time MVP. Eternal Witness, get our stuff back. Noxious Revival, get our stuff back. Balaged to get our stuff back. Heroic Intervention and Veil of Summer and Autumn's Veil. Protect our pieces, and also Veil of Summer and Autumn's Veil protect our stuff from counter spells. Let's talk a little bit about some of this stack. So we run Earthcraft because Earthcraft is great. We do run a few artifact fast mana pieces like the Chrome Mox, the Mana Vault, the Soul Ring. Elvish Spirit Guide is kind of a pseudo ritual, Arcane Signet, and Lotus Petal. Even though that these are a non-bow with collector oofs, these are how we get our collector oofs out early. And we realize that the longer the games go, the more likely we are to win them. This is a great deck in this mid-range hill that we are currently in. So let's talk a little bit about some of our value pieces. So we run Disciple of Frailes. This is a card draw on a pinch, but also an MDFC land. Growing Rights, it's a little bit of creature advantage to get some creatures into our hand, but also it's just another Gaia's Cradle. The One Ring, Kadama of the East Tree, Lurking Predators, Sylvan Library, Turn Timber, Symbiosis. Hunter's Insight is an interesting one. Choose target creature we control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player, or Planeswalker this way, draw that many cards. So at the very least, we can cast it on Yeva, who's a 4 power, 4 toughness creature. We can potentially draw 4 cards. Runic Armasaur, Garruk's Uprising. This is a great one because it gives us card draw and gives a lot of our creatures trample. And then the Great Hinge. We run a lot of basic lands, nothing too spicy. Gemstone Caverns, Yavimaya, and then a bunch of basic lands. We, of course, run Boseiju, Ancient Tomb. This Castle Garenbig is pretty interesting. Comes in untapped most of the time, but we can pay 4 to add 6. But we can only spend that 6 to cast creature spells or activate abilities of creatures. But I've realized that this is a very good card because it comes in untapped most of the time. Well, this is a Yeva mono green cEDH bracket 5 deck. It wins a lot and it has a lot of flexibility and it's just really fun to play. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. Peace.